All right, hey everyone, welcome back. You ready to dive into something kind of fun today?
Always up for a good deep dive. Let's do it.
Perfect. So we're tackling Bridget Jones's Diary, the movie, but not just like a casual rewatch.
Okay, going deeper. I like it.
Yeah, we've got this analysis that really breaks down why this movie, even after all these years, still totally holds up.
It is interesting how it went from like a rom-com hit to this almost cult classic status.
Exactly. And our source material, it kind of acts like this secret decoder ring. Like on the surface, you've got your classic rom-com tropes, right?
Right, the lovable mess, the two guys vying for her affection.
But there's so much more going on underneath, and the connection to Pride and Prejudice, that's where it gets really fascinating.
Oh yeah, that's not just some cute little nod. It's woven into the whole fabric of the film.
Okay, so for those who haven't made that connection yet, maybe a quick rundown.
Well, think about it. Bridget, our wonderfully flawed heroine, she's kind of like a modern-day Elizabeth Bennet.
Okay, yeah, both initially judging a guy way too quickly.
Exactly. And the way those first impressions play out, so crucial. You got Daniel Cleaver, all charm and swagger, very Wickham-esque, right?
Oh, totally, sweeping Bridget off her feet, but with this hint of, like, shadiness?
Meanwhile, Mark Darcy, he comes across as stuffy, reserved, almost rude at first. Very reminiscent of Darcy at that first ball, yeah.
Whoa, it's like the same energy, right?
Yes.
Both guys completely misjudged based on appearances. But the film, it goes beyond just mirroring the plot points.
It's about those timeless themes Austen was exploring. Class, societal expectations, and of course finding a partner who truly sees you.
And that's where the diary format comes in. We're not just watching Bridget, we're in her head.
That's what makes her so relatable, right? Those inner monologues, the anxieties, the self-doubt, we've all been there.
It's like that universal experience of like, oh my God, did I really just say that?
The disastrous cooking attempts, the cringe-worthy social blunders, she lays it all out there. And it's hilarious, but also kind of comforting.
Totally, like you're not alone in your messy humanness. But the analysis points out something interesting. The diary lets the film do something Austen never could.
Oh, yeah, I see where you're going with this. It gives Bridget this explicit voice, particularly about her career ambitions.
Right. In Pride and Prejudice, marriage is kind of the end game. But for Bridget, it's not her only goal.
She wants success, independence, and that adds a whole other layer to why she's drawn to Daniel. He represents that world she wants to break into.
Okay, but can we talk about Renée Zellweger for a sec? Because she is Bridget Jones. Like, there's no separating them.
Seriously, her commitment to the role, the accent, the physical transformation, it's incredible.
And it's not just about, like, looking the part. She captures Bridget's awkwardness, her vulnerability, but also that underlying strength.
There's a scene the analysis highlights at the disastrous book launch. Bridget's mortified, obviously, but there's this flicker of defiance, too.
Oh, I remember that. Like, yeah, this is embarrassing, but I'm not going to let it define me.
Exactly. And that's what makes her so endearing. She picks herself up, dusts herself off, and keeps going. And speaking of keeping going, let's dig into some of the deeper themes here. Self-acceptance seems to be a big one.
Yeah, that's what really stuck out to me, too. It's not a makeover story.
Right, it's not about Bridget transforming into some, like, perfect version of herself.
She learns to love herself, flaws and all, and that's so refreshing, especially in a genre that often relies on those transformation tropes.
Totally. And the analysis argues that Bridget Jones also tackles female friendships in a way that feels really authentic.
Oh, yeah, those aren't just sidekicks for comic relief. These women are ride or die.
Exactly. Supportive, but they call each other out too, offering advice and even tough love when needed.
Like, think about those dinner scenes with her friends. Hilarious, yes, but
Yeah.
they're having real conversations.
It's that kind of support system, beyond just finding a man, that elevates this film beyond your typical rom-com.
Totally. It's a commentary on life, friendship, and figuring things out in the modern world, and it does it all with a healthy dose of humor.
Exactly. And that's why I think it still resonates so strongly with audiences today. It's like the film is holding up this mirror to those classic Austen archetypes and then like giving them a modern twist.
Yeah, totally. Like Daniel, he's so obviously the Wickham character.
Oh, absolutely.
That charm, but like, there's something off.
Exactly. Preying on Bridget's insecurities.
And Mark, well, at first he's all Darcy-like.
Reserved, misunderstood.
Totally. And Bridget initially, just like Elizabeth Bennet, she completely misreads him.
Blinded by those first impressions. And let's be real, Daniel's manipulations don't help.
Not at all. But then as the story unfolds, you start to see those layers to Mark's character.
That integrity, that genuine affection for Bridget.
Ugh, that scene at the Christmas party when he defends her against Daniel. So good.
A classic Pride and Prejudice moment, right?
Totally. The scales fall from Bridget's eyes. She finally sees him for who he really is.
And it's not just romantic redemption either. The film subtly tackles some bigger issues, too.
Oh, yeah, like what?
Well, think about Bridget's interactions with Daniel at work. That whole workplace sexism thing.
Ooh, yeah. It's subtle, but it's definitely there.
That scene where he sends her that suggestive email and she's trying to laugh it off with her friends.
Well, you can totally see how uncomfortable she is.
Exactly. The film doesn't shy away from those uncomfortable realities.
Which is interesting because it's still a comedy, you know?
Right, but it's a testament to the film's intelligence that it can handle those heavier topics without sacrificing the humor.
It's all about balance, right?
Precisely. You can have the witty banter, the romance, and still address these important issues.
And that's why I think it resonates with people. It's not just fluff, it's got something to say.
Absolutely. It's about being a woman navigating career, relationships, life in general in the modern world.
Okay, well, speaking of navigating, can we talk about the visual style of the film for a minute?
Oh, yeah, the way it's shot, it totally captures Bridget's world.
The analysis talks about Sharon Maguire's direction and how it reflects Bridget's personality.
It's energetic, vibrant, kind of chaotic, but also optimistic.
Just like Bridget.
Exactly. And she uses visual humor so brilliantly.
Oh my gosh, the bunny outfit scene.
Yes. Hilarious, right?
But also kind of like endearingly vulnerable.
Totally. She's willing to put herself out there, even if it means risking total embarrassment.
And the editing is great too. It keeps things moving, but also allows for those quieter moments to breathe.
Yeah, like that scene where Bridget's alone in her apartment after the breakup with Daniel.
Heartbreaking.
But so powerful, it lets us really connect with her vulnerability.
And the voiceover, it's like we're right there in her head.
Adds so much humor and intimacy.
Plus, it highlights how great Helen Fielding's writing is. That dialogue is so sharp.
The film really does a fantastic job of adapting the novel.
But the casting, oh my gosh, perfect.
Renée as Bridget, iconic.
And Colin Firth as Mark Darcy, I mean, come on.
He brings this gravitas to the role, but also that hidden warmth.
Their chemistry is undeniable.
Those awkward interactions, the charged silences, the kiss in the snow.
Movie magic.
And we can't forget Hugh Grant as Daniel.
He's so good at playing the charming rogue.
You get why Bridget falls for him, even though you know he's bad news.
He's got that, like, twinkle in his eye that makes you forget he's terrible.
But the film doesn't let him off the hook, which is refreshing.
It shows the complexities of relationships, the good and the bad.
And reminds us that sometimes happily ever after isn't with who you initially think.
Ooh, that's deep. But speaking of relationships, one thing that really struck me was Bridget's relationship with her parents.
Oh yeah, there's such a fun element in the film.
They're quirky, a bit over the top, but their love for her is so obvious.
They provide that unconditional support, that safety net.
A reminder that family can be a source of strength, even when they're driving you crazy.
And their little storyline, with the separation and reconciliation, it adds this unexpected emotional depth.
It's like even seemingly perfect families have their own struggles.
Exactly. It highlights the importance of communication and forgiveness.
And let's not forget Bridget's amazing friends.
Always there for her with advice, support, and lots of laughs.
The ultimate squad goals.
They represent the power of female friendship, that loyalty and support.
So crucial. But okay, back to Bridget's love life. The analysis talks about how the film kind of challenges those rom-com conventions.
Oh yeah, how so?
Well, it presents a protagonist who's flawed, relatable, not your typical rom-com heroine.
I think that was such a breath of fresh air at the time.
So many films back then focused on these idealized, perfect women.
Bridget is messy, clumsy, she makes mistakes.
She's a real person.
Exactly. And that's what makes her so relatable.
It's like the film is saying, hey, it's okay to be yourself, flaws and all, and you're still worthy of love.
And it's not about finding the perfect partner, it's about finding someone who accepts you for you.
Which brings us back to that self-acceptance theme, so important.
Embracing your imperfections, loving yourself, even when it's hard.
A message that never gets old.
Especially in a world that's constantly telling us how we should look, how we should behave.
It's so refreshing to see a film celebrate individuality.
And the fact that it's done through this funny, charming rom-com makes it even more impactful.
It's like entertainment with a purpose.
Exactly. Even lighthearted films can have a profound message.
So we've talked characters, themes, the cultural impact. What about the film's lasting legacy? Why do you think it still resonates with people after all these years?
It's funny, isn't it? Like, Bridget Jones feels so of its time. You know, that whole late 90s, early 2000s vibe.
Totally. But it also feels timeless, like those themes still resonate.
Right. And I think the analysis nails it. It captured this cultural moment.
When women were kind of over those picture-perfect rom-com heroines.
Exactly. We wanted someone real, someone flawed.
And Bridget is so flawed, but that's what makes her great.
She stumbles, she makes questionable choices, but she owns it.
And she never loses that sense of humor.
Which is what lets the film address some, heavier stuff.
Like what?
Well, the analysis talks about Bridget's struggles with body image.
Oh, for sure. That constant focus on her weight.
It reflects a very real pressure women face, even today.
Totally. Those scenes where she's obsessing over calories.
Ugh, so relatable, but also kind of painful to watch.
Because we've all been there.
Right. But the film doesn't mock her for it.
It acknowledges those pressures without being mean-spirited.
Exactly. There's empathy there, showing how those expectations can mess with your head.
Which makes her journey of self-acceptance even more powerful.
She's not trying to fit some mold. She's learning to love herself as she is.
And Mark, he loves her for it too.
He doesn't try to change her. He appreciates her quirks.
That's so important to see, especially in a romantic comedy.
It's like the film is giving us permission to be ourselves.
Flaws and all. But beyond self-acceptance, there's also the portrayal of female friendship.
Those relationships are so key to Bridget's story.
They're more than just sounding boards for her romantic dramas.
They offer real support, honest feedback. They celebrate her wins.
And they're there for her when things fall apart.
Like after that disastrous birthday dinner.
Ugh, her friends are the best.
They remind her of her worth. They help her pick up the pieces.
It's a reminder that sometimes your friends are the best love story.
And those friendships, they add so much warmth to the film.
Okay, so we've covered the characters, the themes, the impact.
What do you think makes it work so well from a filmmaking perspective?
It's that balance, right? The wit, the romance, the humor, it all blends together.
And it never feels preachy, even when dealing with tough topics.
The humor keeps things light, but the message still comes through.
Exactly. It's entertaining and thought-provoking.
And visually, it's just so charming.
That London setting, the costumes, the music.
Yes, like soundtrack. Such a great mix of pop hits and score.
It just enhances every scene, whether it's romantic or funny.
It all adds up to this really satisfying experience.
You laugh, you cry, you root for Bridget.
It'll leave feeling hopeful.
It's a reminder that life's messy, but you got to embrace the journey.
So if you haven't watched Bridget Jones in a while, do it.
And even if you're a fan, I hope this deep dive gave you a new perspective.
It's a film worth celebrating.
For its humor, its heart, and that message of self-acceptance.
And with that, we've reached the end of our deep dive.
It's been fun exploring Bridget Jones with you all.
Remember, there's always more to discover in your favorite films.
So keep watching, keep thinking, and keep exploring.
Until next time, happy watching.